And we are now joined by the man, college football analyst for ESPN, SiriusXM, The Volume, former Georgia quarterback, Aaron Murray. Aaron, what don't you do, brother?
Oh man, it's a busy slate. My wife is hoping that I maybe cut something out this fall, so she doesn't have to deal with both our kids week in and week out. Now she loves her being a mother, but it can be tough sometimes. So yeah, just got to take advantage of when I do have a little bit of a downtime to hang out with the two kids, the two dogs. But come football season, come August, I mean it is sun up to sundown kind of days, which is fun. Just like you, we get to cover the game that we love, the game we played, and it doesn't feel like work. I love every bit of it. So very blessed, but also very, very, very busy.
Running the no-huddle offense over there at the Murray household. Well, let's start here, Aaron. The G-Day. Obviously, your alma mater, Georgia Bulldogs. Carson Beck looked like the guy. I mean, is he officially the QB1 in Athens in your mind?
Yeah, I think he's been. I mean, Carson was the guy 3 years ago. I mean, he was dubbed the starter. When JT went down, and then something happened on Monday, Tuesday. I think the staff wasn't really sure. Is he ready to go? So you got Stetson in your back pocket. You're about to play UAB. You're like, okay, let's just put Stetson in there. Give Carson maybe one more week to get ready to go. And then Stetson throws 5 touchdowns. You're kind of like, we can't really take the ball out of his hands. But, from the first time I saw Carson throw the ball, I was like, man, this guy's got it. And you just know when you're around certain quarterbacks, there's just that it factor. And it's funny because I talk about like these NFL quarterbacks, like Anthony Richardson, get ready for the draft. And, I get crazy because I'm like, watch the film. But then you get caught up in seeing these guys throw the football and the way they look and the way the ball's released. And you kind of just say, man, if he can just kind of put it all together, he could be pretty darn special. And I think that's been the case for Carson. Can he put everything together from the fundamentals to the mental side to the leadership to be a really, really good quarterback? And he's just continued to grind in all those areas, talking with people in the building. And man, he looked good. I think it's his team. I think it's his job. The other quarterbacks look great. Brock looked tremendous. Gunnar looked great. I mean, Georgia would be most likely undefeated with any 3 of them just because of their roster. But I think Carson puts you at a different level, especially with the receivers and tight ends that have been amassed this offseason. So, man, I can't wait. I really can't. I put a little tweet out there. I'm not joking either. If Stetson Bennett can make it to New York, I think Carson's going to have far superior stats. He's going to be on the best team in the country, probably going to win the SEC championship, going to be in the playoffs. If he throws 35-plus touchdowns and he's on that team, most likely going to be in New York for that ceremony. And I kind of expect Bobo to let him fling it a little bit this year.
Well, that was my next question. Does it change the way that we've watched Georgia previously with a guy like Carson Beck? Like, obviously, Stetson Bennett is Stetson Bennett and Carson Beck's Carson Beck. Do you think they tailor it differently to a guy like Beck and his skill set?
Yeah, when you saw this year, I mean, who they brought in through the portal. You bring in a couple of top receivers. I don't know what's going on with Rara. Didn't play really in the spring game at all, but Lovett is explosive. You got McConkey, you got Arian, knock on wood, he can stay healthy. Obviously, you got the best player in America in Brock Bowers. But yeah, I expect this offense to really start to push this ball vertically down the field. You're still going to see, you saw in the spring game, it's the same thing they ran last year, essentially like the core. Different formations, different personnel groups, motion shifts, really put the defense at a bind and make those guys communicate on that side of the football. And then a lot of play action pass, and then utilize Carson's ability to push the ball vertical with that talent and that speed that's around him. So yeah, I think they're going to throw the ball more. And listen, there's going to be a chip on Bobo's shoulder. Like, I know Bobo. He was my OC for 5 years. He's a competitive son of a gun. He wants to be the best. He is one of the best. And there's a lot of people doubting, should he have gone the job? Big shoes to fill with Monken leaving. And I think he's just eating that up. And he knows that he has a talent that he hasn't had in a long time to work with. And he wants to go out there and prove everyone why he's a successful coordinator, why he got this job. And that's why I think there's going to be no limits for this offense. I think it's going to be, let's go score 50 a game. And like I said, I think they got the talent to do it. They definitely have the schedule to do it. There's not a lot of teams on that schedule that really scare me. They're going to be better than most. And it's just, can knock on wood, can they stay healthy? And if they can, I think they're going to be a special offense.
And if I'm a Georgia fan, on one hand, I'm like, awesome. Looks like we got our guy with Carson Beck. On the other hand, in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, dang, does that mean, we lose a guy like Brock Vandergriff? I mean, in the day and age of the portal, it's so hard to keep two elite level quarterbacks on your roster. In your mind, what happens to a guy like Brock Vandergriff now with the portal being open and things of that nature, just kind of being a big question mark as a whole?
I see, Brock loves being in Georgia. He loves being at UGA. I mean, he's a kid from Athens, went to the Prince Academy. So I think it's always been a dream for him to be on this roster. But you want to play too. Like there's that good feeling of, hey, I'm wearing the red and black. I've dreamed since I was a little kid to wear this uniform. But there's also, like I said, that competitor inside that you want to play football. You only get a small window and a small opportunity to do it. So I don't know what Kirby's telling them behind closed doors when it comes to, hey, this competition's still on, it's still not. I think you kind of have to know as a player, you got to kind of check yourself and surround yourself with good people and kind of step back and say, okay, Carson got the first team reps. He balled out. We looked great. Yeah, I played well too, but realistically, am I going to be a starter? Probably not. Like I said, I think if Brock was a starter, I feel really good the team would be just as successful. So yeah, he has to make the decision. Do I play the game of if Carson balls out this year, maybe Carson leaves for the NFL draft after the season, which I think he could do. Obviously, he's old enough to do it. And then I could be the guy next year. Do I think I could beat Gunner out if Gunner stays next year? So there's a lot of scenarios that have to go through his head, but then he wants to play. He's good enough to play. He's good enough to play at 75% of the other schools out there that need a quarterback. He can jump in the portal tomorrow, show up with his work ethic, and he's a tremendous worker, compete to be a starting quarterback come fall. I mean, shoot, you can go to Auburn, for goodness sakes, with his skill set and the type of offense they want to run, and he's a better passer and can compete for a starting job there. Obviously, he can't compete. He can't actually transfer in the SEC because of rules, but like a situation like that is somewhere he could go to and go out there and compete. So it's up to him, man. I hope he stays, but in today's world, you're going to lose great ones. They got plenty of great guys on that roster. And the thing with Kirby, too, because the way he's built this program, you lose one or two at certain positions, he can go pluck someone in the portal this year. And as soon as the season's over, he can also go pluck the top guy at the quarterback spot if he needs another quarterback come next offseason.
And Aaron, you said it, this quarterback room right now, like any three of these guys, Georgia's probably not having like a drastically different regular season, at least. There'll obviously be a couple of spots where in the SEC title game, likely it's going to, obviously, you're going to need your quarterback to make a couple plays for you. When you look at the season for Georgia, we asked David Pollock the same question. Are you taking Georgia or the field when it comes to the national title?
I'm taking Georgia. I just think like some of the elite teams have too many questions that I'm not sure I feel comfortable yet with. Alabama, there's a lot of question marks from the quarterback to, can the receivers, take that step up from last year? I mean, they were, they didn't have that explosiveness like they've had in years past. I mean, they were young and they're excited about some of those freshmen. So are they ready to step up? You got to obviously replace Gibbs. I know they're excited about some of their young backs too, but, questions at the quarterback, you lose Bryce. Questions on some spots on defense. And I know they've recruited well. We all know there's plenty of 4- and 5-star guys on their roster, but there's a difference between being a 4- and 5-star in high school and being an All-American at the college level. So I trust Nick can get those guys ready. To me, this is more of a rebuilding year for Alabama than not. I think LSU is the team in the West, but I still think Georgia's a deeper, more talented roster than LSU is. So I don't feel great with anyone really in the SEC contending with them. Outside the SEC, Ohio State has some questions. Got to see what their quarterbacks look like. I do like Michigan, but Michigan plays a similar style of football to Georgia, and Georgia's just better at it. So I think Michigan is honestly my favorite to win the conference. I think them at home versus Ohio State, kind of their schedule lays out perfectly for them. I think they'll take care of business in the Big Ten. So no, I really don't see another team that is as balanced as Georgia is on both sides of the football. I mean, you're talking about the depth they return on defense. They're going to be giving up less than 15 points per game, probably going to be a top 5 defense in America. And I laid out kind of what they have on offense. I think they're going to be one of the top offenses in the country as well. And you may have an offense that's better or a team that's better defensively, but no one is that balanced on both sides. I think that balance is what gives Kirby and should give Dog fans the confidence they go for a three-peat.
I mean, they've built it to where it almost runs itself right now. But when you look at this team, if you had to pick one potential weakness for them, is there something within this Georgia team that you think could be an area of concern?
I want to see this defensive line be able to get after the quarterback. I love the secondary. What you have back from, Tyke and Malachi and Javon and, some of the big time recruits are going to be really good, and they're going to be really, really deep in the secondary. I think they're going to be really good. You return your linebackers. Some of those freshman linebackers like CJ Allen really flashed in the spring game. They got a lot of speed. So like that second and third level, I feel good with. It's that front four getting pressure on the quarterback. You didn't really see a lot of it in the spring game. It's a spring game, so you don't want to take out, go too crazy over it. But that's the area to me, replacing a guy like Jalen, who's I think the best player in the NFL draft. Can you find ways to stop the run? Can you get after the quarterback? I think they'll be fine there, but that to me is the weakest part of the defense. Offensively, they've been shuffling off the offensive line around a little bit. I think the offensive line is going to be fine. Stacey Searles is second year there in Athens. He's a great offensive line coach. So, yeah, that's really it. So it's defensive line and just overall, don't be complacent. Don't buy into the hype of, hey, you are the best team in the country. You're going for the three-peat. Like, can Kirby work his magic somehow and tell this team that they're going to be 8-5 and piss them off, which if he does that for a second straight offseason, I'd be pretty impressed.
That would be the greatest hoax, the greatest coaching job, kind of go hand in hand there, we've seen in this entire sport. Now, Aaron, when it comes to the SEC, you and I both agree Georgia's obviously the undisputed heavyweight champ. Is there a team that could potentially pose the biggest threat to Georgia, though, when it comes to how they match up?
I'm interested with Tennessee and the games in Neyland. I think Joe Milton's a stud. I think Joe is a freak athlete. I had a chance to cover him a couple times last year, and talking with him and the staff and talking with Hendon, just his maturity, being Hendon's roommate. I mean, we've all heard the story, but he's freakish athlete. I mean, we just from running to throwing to size, he may be the prettiest build a quarterback prospect out there in college football right now. And the fact that he's all accounts, he's really taken a step up when it comes to his timing, his rhythm, being able to layer the football instead of just trying to put a hole in someone's chest. If he can take that step, I mean, that's going to be a good team. I love Bangs on the defense side of the football. I think they're going to be obviously aggressive as always. They're building depth, which they haven't had in a couple of years. So, yeah, you get those weapons, which they didn't have in the spring game. So for those who watch the spring game, they were not healthy at receiver or running back. You get those receivers and running backs with a quarterback that is more talented than Hendon and get him playing like Hendon. That's a scary team. Like I said, at home versus Georgia. So that's an interesting game to me. But, that's really Georgia's only game they got to really get up for. I think LSU in the West is a really good team. I like Jaden. I like their offense. You bring back the tackles. You got the running backs, the receivers. You got Mason at tight end. You got Mason at defensive tackle back, who, let's not forget, was injured in that first game versus Florida State. One of their best players on that side of the football, along with the best linebacker maybe in the SEC. So they don't have a lot of questions on their roster, which gives me the confidence that they can win the West and should win the West. But I just don't know if they have the depth yet that Georgia has, 2-3 deep, that are really, really talented, that when they face off, say in the SEC championship game, they're going to be strong enough to kind of compete with the Bulldogs. But that'd be my two that I kind of have marked that have the guys right now that Georgia will face. Obviously Alabama has it, but like I said, I don't anticipate Alabama winning the West, so Georgia won't have to face it this year.
Now, Aaron, last question for you before we get you out of here. We appreciate all your time. It's spring game season. Like, we're all just fired up to have football back on the television screen. And with that, it's hard to necessarily have proper gauging for when we're watching these spring games. Arch Manning is a great example. Goes 5 for 13. Everyone's saying he shouldn't even be at Texas. How should fans be watching these spring games in your mind?
I've been saying it for weeks because it's been a discussion now of like, how should the games be formatted? Should you play another team? Do spring games even matter? And I'm in the sense of, it's just, to me, spring games are a celebration. It's a great opportunity for fans to get back on campus, to hang out with buddies, go to your favorite restaurant, walk around campus, get in the stadium, kind of get a taste of what some of the young players are looking like. But like, don't take a lot out. As a coaching staff and as a player, you just want to get in, get out, stay healthy, and have some fun, and then go out and celebrate the fact that spring ball's over with. So, like, yes, we're going to be critical, especially with a guy like Arch who has these high expectations. But listen, he should be in high school right now. So, if anything, you should be grateful for the fact that with the college rules, with the fact that so many kids are mid-year enrolling, that he's been able to get in, get 15 practices, get some reps, start building the chemistry, start learning the offense, and put himself in a situation that if Ewers has a great year and goes to the NFL, he's a year and a half now, already a spring, fall camp in, to maybe compete for the job or be given the job come next spring. So it's all positive. Listen, I was a mid-year guy. Your head's spinning all over the place. There's nerves at the wazoo. And I listen, I was a high recruited kid. I'm not a Manning. So those pressures are even higher, especially at a place like Texas. So let's just take a break and continue to trust Sark that he's going to work him, get him ready to go for when his time is ready. But we kind of knew this was going to be Ewers' job. Ewers had flashes last year, didn't finish the season off great, but super, super talented. They got some talent around him. It was going to be an uphill battle for Manning to win that thing out anyways.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, mid-year, so you kept on, you held on rather to your ID, is what I'm understanding. ID stayed in the wallet. Okay.
Hold on to the ID. Just put, this is 2023. Why aren't the IDs just like you're on your phone, for goodness sakes? You don't have to worry about carrying around. Like someone needs to do an NIL deal with Arch in which you can put your student ID in your phone, in your Apple Wallet. Then you don't have to lose it. I mean, that's a great NIL deal. We just came up with another one for him.
Chess, not checkers. Well, Aaron, we appreciate you making time, man. Appreciate you talking some ball with us, and looking forward to doing it again real soon.
I appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me on.